Apollo is, well, in our term, or generally, people use it for anything that causes a red eye, especially in both eyes. Yes, Apollo. Well, the red eye in general may be mostly due to what we call conjunctivitis. Red eye the conjunctiva of the eye refers to this white part just around the black. Yes. That is what we call the sclera. On top of the white part is a very translucent, almost transparent membrane, which we call the conjunctiva. So the white part, the membrane on the white part, that one also stretches to at the inner side of the eyelids. Yes, that's the conjunctiva. So when the conjunctiva becomes inflamed, we call it conjunctivitis. Conjunctivitis can be caused by bacteria, it can be caused by viruses, it can be caused by just any normal irritation from chemical or many other causes. But in this particular case, Apollo is caused by a virus. Yes. The viruses that cause Apollo, they're in a large group, we call them the picornaviruses. And specifically, enteroviruses. They are a subgroup of picornaviruses. Enteroviruses have a lot of groupings. The one that causes Apollo is enterovirus 70. Yes, that specific one. Now, Apollo, technically, we call it the acute hemorrhagic conjunctivitis. It's a big name. We can just break it down so simply. Acute simply means that it occurs suddenly or all of a sudden, sharp onset. So acute. Hemorrhagic means, when we say hemo, means that there is blood involved. So the redness that we see is as a result of hemorrhaging in the eye. Yes, so then acute one, and it's hemorrhagic two, and then it's an inflammation of the conjunctiva. So that's the real name of Apollo, acute hemorrhagic conjunctivitis. You can simply call it viral conjunctivitis because it's from a virus. Yes, but here in our local environment, we call it Apollo. And it's a very interesting thing to note how the name Apollo came. You know, how did we get to call it Apollo? I was intrigued to find out that it's not only in Ghana, but in West Africa, it's actually called Apollo. Yes, I have a few other West African friends, and they also know Apollo. So what happened is this. From what I found, in 1969, so there was this launch of this spacecraft, the Apollo 11. And coincidentally, around the same time, there was an outbreak of this red eye disease in Ghana. Yes. So you know how very superstitious we can be. We connected it to, I said, that's to now pity from the moon, I don't know, or from wherever, and has affected our eyes. So that's how come people call it Apollo, Apollo, Apollo. Yes, that was the very first time it was really seen in 1969. So then people call it Apollo. So you can call it Apollo conjunctivitis if you like. Yes, so that is Apollo. Apollo, as we see it, comes with various symptoms and then signs. So the common symptoms one would feel when he has Apollo, first one, the pain. It's very uncomfortable, painful. The person becomes very sensitive to light. And the person feels like, some would say, you know, it feels like there's a lot of sand or gritty feeling in his eyes. And then there's lots of tearing because of that discomfort. So then there's the redness. You also have, you know, people feeling the swelling and pain all around their eyes. Yeah, that's typically how it presents. So the usual thing you would hear, when I slept and I woke up, suddenly my eye was painful. And it usually starts in one eye. So you have one eye starting, And Apollo, because of its very short incubation period, when we say incubation period, we mean that the time between when you are infected and when the disease appears, that's the incubation period. Apollo's incubation period, by 1-2 days, it's ripe and ready to show. So it will come suddenly in one eye usually, and then suddenly the other eye becomes involved. Yeah, so people wake up and they see some discharge around the eyes. So if you look at someone with Apollo, he has red, bloodshot eyes, and then some people will have the swollen eyelids all around. They will have a little bit of discharge, especially when they wake up the first time. This discharge can be a bit sticky, and then during the day, it's very, very watery, from the eye. Yes, and they are very uncomfortable, not one light. And if then, because of all this discomfort and the tearing, they would once in a while complain of blur, mild blur in their vision. Yeah. The main mode of transmission of Apollo is what we call hand-to-eye contact, simply put. There are very funny stories we hear. Some say when you look at someone who has Apollo, you'll get Apollo. It's a very interesting concept. I don't know whether that's Bluetooth or Wi-Fi connection. No, but that doesn't occur. It's simply if you touch a contaminated surface or somebody who has Apollo touches his eye and then touches something, you also touch it. You can pick up the viruses. And once in a while we'll rub our eyes. And when you rub your eyes, you introduce the contamination, and voila, you have Apollo. Yeah, that's simply how it occurs. If you don't get the droplets or an infected thing, or you shake someone who has Apollo and have some sort of contact, no, it won't occur. So if you look at someone with Apollo, it will not cause Apollo. No. It's very safe to look at someone with Apollo. Apollo is very, very contagious. I would strongly advise every time, if somebody has Apollo, it should not be among people. So if possible, your child is going to school, has Apollo, let him not go to school for the rest of the week or the whole week. You go to work, you have Apollo, get to your doctor. Your doctor will definitely examine. If it is Apollo, he would write some excuse duty for you, or else you are going to inconvenience others. It is better that you go and then get your eye checked and treated than infect the rest of the organization with Apollo. That would be very, very sad. It's very easy and contagious. You see, these ones, the picorna viruses I'm talking about, enterovirus, they are small in size. Very small, about 20 nanomicrons in size. Very tiny. I know perspective will be very difficult. Yes, they are very tiny. They can easily get to you. Yes, so when someone does have Apollo, besides, he will be very, very unproductive because of the inconvenience, the pain he's feeling, the watery eyes, and he will not really, and it's unsightly, That's why you see a lot of them wearing the dark shades, trying to act cool, but everything is very hot behind there. Yeah. It's something that is actually seasonal. So we usually would find it around the rainy or the wet times. Yes, around that time is when Apollo starts to kick in. And you'll see that you can have it at other times, but during that wet times is when you have a lot of these infections coming up. Interestingly, over the years, even though Apollo comes, we don't see it as much. In all my years of practice, I think it is in this year that I'm seeing the highest number of Apollo cases. Yeah. I am even surprised that we still have not maybe declared, or a statement has not come from, I haven't seen it yet from maybe the Ministry of Health, but the numbers are really high from my practice and what I have seen. Yes. It's during the rainy season that you have this. It's seasonal. And because, again, we are looking at droplet kind of infection, the transmission is easier that way during a wet season. If things dry up, it will be difficult to move it, Yeah. And there's another one that is close to Apollo, the rhino, some other ones that cause the infection. Same group of viruses. Yes. So you'd realize that around this time too, you are getting some sort of cold infections, cough infections. So if you observe, people are coughing a bit more. Apollo affects people of all ages at all. I think what happens is this. Children mingle more, so they spread the infections among themselves far more easily than adults would. So you would see that more in children. And then another thing, for those who wear glasses, the adult population in Ghana, or generally, would even pick up glasses a bit more, compared to the younger population, even though the younger people too wear. When you wear glasses, they serve as a sort of a barrier, so you don't get to touch your eyes as much. Yes, so that could be another thing that would sort of slow it down a bit among the adults. Because if you are going to touch your glass, you will smudge it and it will not be clear. So you don't want to touch it as much. So you don't touch your eyes. Yes. So those are the things. But Apollo is not age specific at all. It affects both the adults and children, pregnant, tall, short. Very many years ago, I read it. There was this doctor, and when they were talking about disease prevention, he thought he found a breakthrough in how to reduce transmission of diseases. And they asked him, what is that? And he says, it's hand wash. And they look at him and like, are you serious? They start laughing at him. But years down the line, I wish I remembered his name to mention his name. Years down the line, we realize he's right. Hand wash cannot be overemphasized. If we wash our hands more often, if you observe, during the COVID period, we had less people having cold and cough. Infections were not spreading that much because of the frequent hand wash. So hand wash, number one, very frequent. Avoid handshakes in this period. Yes, avoid handshakes because you'd be picking up a lot of things. Surfaces that are that the public will use, like the doorknobs of public offices, the railings of the stairs, holding on to the, I think it's called the railings, yeah. Using anything that people use. No, you should try not to touch those surfaces. If you share stuff with people, and here I'll go to the ladies, makeup. I have said this before, but generally sharing makeup is not the best. In a nutshell, what I will say is that you can never go wrong with the COVID protocols. No. So if you live with the COVID protocols, your risk of contracting Apollo would be much, much reduced. If you are sitting at your desk, wipe the desk. Yes, wipe it as, or any other place. Yes, feel free and wipe it. It will be very good for you. Treatment-wise, the best thing to do is to go see your doctor. There are certain things people do. Yeah, very interesting things. I've heard some seem very unbelievable. One, they will say, oh, get some seawater and put it in your eyes. Other people will say, get some breast milk and put it in your eyes. No, no, no. Your eyes are delicate. There's a reason why even when water, simple water enters your eyes, you feel a burning sensation a bit. It's because you can't get just anything into your eye. Eye preparations or eye drops or medications are prepared or specially formulated such that they can rest in your eyes well. There's a certain pH or environment in which the eye drops are made so that they can suit your eye as well. We need to watch out. Don't go and get seawater into your eyes. And then one other thing I would add is if you have Apollo and you are cleaning your eyes, it's tearing a lot, please, I would prefer that you use tissue, not a handkerchief. Because if you use a handkerchief, you put the handkerchief in, take it off, bring it back, reintroduce the microorganisms. No, use tissue, and then after that, discard it well. When I say discard it well, I mean don't put it in a place where it will go and contaminate surfaces for other people. You could even get a bag where you put all the tissue inside and then safely, seal it and discard it in a dustbin well, so that nobody gets in contact with any of these things. Yeah, I think that we should be each other's keeper. If we do not do that, this is going to spread even far more than it currently is. Right now, it's still on the rise, and it is not funny. Yeah.
Can you put a figure to?
But this is a very big public health concern. I think that people should really be far more vigilant about Apollo. The good thing, if I should say, of course, the bad thing is the pain and all that you go through. But the good thing about Apollo is that so far as it's known now, Apollo by itself does not lead to blindness. So if you have Apollo, you are not going to get blind because of Apollo. But then Apollo then puts your eye in a very compromised state. You keep taking your hand to your eye, and that makes you susceptible to more infections. So you can get some other infections, unfortunately, and put that in your eye because you are rubbing, you are cleaning, you are doing all that. And that can cause other problems. Yes. But then Apollo by itself, it's one of the what we call the self-limiting diseases. If you allow it and you go through the fire, you should have some resolution after between maybe a week or two. Some will take a week, some will take maybe 2 weeks for the resolution. But it is better that you get yourself to an eye clinic and let us get you some medication, some treatment. This will help make the resolution a little faster and make it more bearable for you. Yes. So let's not aspire to get Apollo at all. It's very painful. Yes. Please do not self-medicate, because if you self-medicate, you can actually cause problems for us in general. You know, we already have this problem of antibiotic resistance, where people are using antibiotics anyhow. So microorganisms are getting used to the antibiotics, so it does not work again. So researchers have to do more work to get tougher antibiotics, and they come out more expensive for all of us. So do not self-medicate. You may cause that problem, or you may even cause some harm to your eye with the wrong medication that you're using. Simply go to your eye doctor or eye care facility and let us check it for you, and then we will be fine. So in these times, if possible, just live by the COVID protocols, and then we should be able to get this infection down as soon as possible. Yes, for all of us to be healthy again.